So this is the self-development with tactics book.
So, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And this episode is going to be all about fucking esports, and I'm pumped. I'm really pumped, See you after the intro. As always. Oh my god. And with that being said, hello, and we're gonna go straight into the information section. The information section says that there are gonna be some notes, which you are seeing here on the right side of the screen. There are gonna be some notes inside of the video, and these notes are compiled and compressed into a PDF, and the PDF is in the description as a download link from a Google Drive folder. So if you do actually not want to go through the whole video, but just want to kind of get the whole summary basically of the video, please hop down into the description. There is going to be the notes. Everything that is highlighted in the video is what you're going to see in this PDF. And then the other link is to add music if you're willing to have some background music in this video, which is definitely making the video way better, but I'm not able to do that just because of post-production capabilities. Please do that. There's 5 tracks. It is also a Google Drive link. Please check it out if you want to have some background music. And if you actually want to listen to this episode, the podcast link is down in the description. So please also check it out if you're willing to listen to it, because it might be way more efficient and or effective for you. But yeah, let's see. As you can see on the left side of the screen, we're having the weekly.gg, GG, pretty interesting. It's actually, I wanted to say .com, but it's actually weekly.gg site, and it is all about esports, as I've already been saying. 2019 esports statistics, trends, and data. Because I've been recently talking to somebody about esports, and I've been like, well, as far as I know, the views generated through esports are at this point in time more than everything in terms of traditional sports combined. I'm not quite sure about that anymore, but we're still going to go through the data, and we're going to have a look at it and see whether there is some competition there, whether it is actually outgrowing traditional sports in the future, or if it is actually outgrowing traditional sports at this point in time. So we're gonna see, to maybe spoil it a little bit. It's doing really good. It really is doing good, and I think it is probably also something that everybody can see by just having a look at society and people. Just esports is growing. It really is growing, and I would say it's like if you're really into games, I think it would actually be a viable business in the future to participate in, to just make money with, because you're probably gonna be able to make quite some money with it. At this point in time, you are able, but I think in the future it's gonna be completely something different, or something completely different, But we're gonna see, We're gonna have a look at it, and we're gonna see if it is what I think it is or not, because I am not so sure. Whatever. Enough talking shit. So the first point is actually global esports, and there you can see the highlighted parts are going to be down in the PDF. So 2019 will be the first year in which it will break the $1 billion revenue milestone with a year-on growth of 26.7%. Which is quite a milestone indeed, which is really a milestone, which is really quite something if you kind of think about just in general, like 1 billion only through esports, which is tickets, which is merchandise, which is, I don't know if the prize money is also included in there, not quite sure about that, but it's like insane, $1 billion, but we are then also going to compare it to traditional sports, which is on another website with actually a little bit of better statistics, and in terms of visualization, they look a little bit better, it's a little bit more interesting to have a look at them. In 2018, the global average revenue per enthusiast was $5. This year, that number will go up to $5.45. Which is quite something. $5.45. I do just realize that is it an article from 2018, I think it could be, but that's not that. Yeah, it is actually from 2018, but that's not too bad. I think the other one's from 2019. Still, it's going to be relevant. Still, it's going to be extremely interesting as well. There were 737 major events in 2018, and they generated $45 54.7 million in tickets, as a small decrease from 2017's 58. It's a small decrease, which is quite something that happens. Not every year is going to be just a lot of events and a lot of huge events, because there's going to be some sort of special years and some years that are just going to be quite different. LOL's World Championship accumulated a total of 53.8 million hours of viewership on Twitch, and they sold 1.9 million in tickets, which is quite something. Like, we can really admit that it is something, alone by fucking LOL. The estimated year-on-year growth global revenues in 2019 is plus 26.7%. Of this amount, 409.1 million will go to North America, and China will take 210.3 million. So as we can already see, North America is doing a pretty great job in esports. Just let's talk about FaZe. Let's talk about just all these huge people that are just now doing, I think, more or less just more YouTube than they're doing the esports thing, as far as I kind of just felt it somehow. But also China is doing really great, and also South Korea. Asian countries are doing a pretty great job in esports, I would say. The highest share of fan density enthusiasts relative to the country's online population will be South Korea's 12%. Let's just think about that. 12% of the whole fucking country, or of the population that is having online access or internet access, are enthusiasts of esports. It really is something. And now we're having a graph there, and it says 19% are from China, the share of revenue. 90% is of China, 6% South Korea, North America is 37%, and the rest of the world is 38%. So as far as I can, not really, but it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot of money that North America is able to just gain there and make there with esports. It's really interesting to see that it is emerging in such a way, and that it is just really staggeringly increasing also in the next year, or in this year it already did, and also in the next year it's gonna be just maybe insane. I don't know. In 2018, the esports audience size totaled to be quite impressive, reaching 173 million frequent viewers, plus another 222 million occasional viewers. And the thing there is, not really. I've just been thinking about the fact that, for example, when we're talking about football or soccer, there are some games on Sunday probably. The Sunday games, or I don't know, there are gonna be some days, not necessarily every single day. If you're talking about soccer in general, which is a sport that has been in culture for really a lot of years, and I know more about soccer than I know about football, therefore I'm gonna talk about soccer. And the thing there is, if we kind of talk about the density or the amount of games there is in a year, then I would say the probability of there being more esports games in a year than soccer games is way higher, I guess. Especially if you're thinking about streaming now, which is also esports. It's, I guess, isn't it? Yeah, I would say so. If they're practicing and you're having a look at them, or you're just watching them practicing on Twitch while they're playing CSGO, whatever they might be playing, then there's also going to be revenue. There's also going to be money through sponsorships, through just other things, through ads, and all those things. Let's talk about that aspect. The 10 most viewed esports events by unique views. To compare it with other years and other games, here's a list of the top 10 most viewed events by unique views in all of esports history. The League of Legends World Championship with 99.6 million views in 2018 is just the number one spot, which is amazing. 99.6 million. I know that if there is just, for example, the world's soccer, or the soccer World Cup, the soccer World Cup, there's probably going to be more people. I'm not quite sure how many, but it's going to be just nearly all of Europe, then a big parts of Africa. I think the United States, in terms of North America in general, it's not going to be that much. Asian countries also not that much. But yeah, Europe, of course, or just something. I don't know about Oceania, so Australia and New Zealand and whatever. I'm not quite sure. I think they're also just... I think they are more into rugby, especially Australia, aren't they? I'm not quite sure. I'm really not educated in that space. The second spot is the LoL Mid-Season Invitational with 60 million, also in 2018. The CSGO E-League Major, 56 million. And the fourth place is Dota's Dota 2's The International. It is called The International. Wow. Pretty huge and amazing name, isn't it? Never mind, just joking. And the fifth place would also be the LoL World Championship. Wait a second. Why is it on just both? Okay, it's from 2016. I see. Stream viewership. I think that there is going to be more. In 2018, Twitch still dominates the market. In the third quarter of the year alone, the streaming platform amassed a total of 2.5 billion hours watched. We're talking about hours. 2.5 billion hours. It's not about fucking views or something, it's about fucking hours. That's fucked up. YouTube trails behind, but is closing the gap. I know YouTube is still going to be just really, really high in the ranks. And I think it is also pretty interesting that YouTube is still I do not necessarily want to talk about a monopoly, that YouTube is having a monopoly in this space, but they're doing a really great job, I guess. In terms of that they're still an emerging platform, that they're still just doing things, that they're still just really kind of well ranked or in a well spot in terms of platforms. It's pretty amazing, because the platform was founded in maybe 2007 or something, I guess. So it's actually quite old by now, but still, it's doing well. It's doing fine. It's doing well. So yeah, it's amazing. It's pretty amazing to see. Tournament prize money in esports, but camaraderie aside, whatever this means, these tournaments stakes are quite real. The largest prize pools are, to put in middle, quite substantial. I'm sorry. So the largest prize pools are, to put it mildly, quite substantial. Now I've read it in the correct way. Dota 2 leads the chart with the biggest prize pool compared to all other esports tournaments, with a prize pool of $41.26 million. Then there's also Fortnite with 19.96 million for their 2017 to 2018 season, and Epic Games committed another 100 million in prize for their 2018 to 2019 season, aiming for a four-fold increase. 100 million in prize pools. It's fucking insane. It really is fucking insane. And then there's also a list. The esports events with the most views, I would say, with the game. Yeah, not that interesting. Player earnings. Professional players' earnings in all sports, including esports, are hard to calculate, since it is also about sponsorships. It is also about some deals they are having with brands. It is also about the tickets they sell, and also kind of the club they are in. When we're talking about the NFL or we're talking about soccer, it really depends highly and heavily on the player itself, on the club, on circumstances, on the year. There's so many different variables. I think it is really, really intensely just difficult to say or to just calculate that how many a specific player actually made in a certain year, or to just also kind of assume that or to just anticipate that and all these things. It's gonna be quite something. The big prizes are the winners, of course, but still the big prizes are for the winners, of course, but still they give a glance on the amount of money on esports, blah, 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 blah. During the tournament alone, the winning team, which was OG, took home a grand total of 11, which is about the Dota 2's The International in 2018. The winning team, which is the OG, took home a grand total of $11.234 million. $11 million. And the thing is, each Dota team consists of 5 players. So let's do the math. And they already did the math, therefore I'm not having to do it. And it is a total of $224,000, which each and everyone gets. It is quite insane. It really is, especially if you're thinking about it, or if you're talking about one day. It is one day. It is one tournament on one day, and it is fucking good. And the teams that landed in the second and third place took 4.085 million and 2 million, or approximately 3 million back home, which is also something, On the lower end of the spectrum, teams that ranked 17th to 18th in the tournament took home a combined 63,830. But if you're doing it 63 divided by 5, which is more than 10k, but I want to have it exactly 12.6k a fucking day. It's insane. It's literally insane. Let's just actually talk about that. Fucking hell. Really is insane. 10k for a day and not even winning something. Of course, you do just have to be a relatively good player to be in a team, first of all, and to just also make then money with it and whatnot. But it still is quite high. Don't get me wrong, but it is quite high. The average pro gamers can earn from $1,000 to $5,000 per month, which is something, which is, I think it is something. I think you're actually, when you're earning just 5,000 per month, then you're probably like a pretty good earner in whatever country you're in. Mid-level and good professional players' earnings total to around $15,000 per month, which is quite something. High-level players, on the other hand, can sometimes earn up to $1 million per year, around $85,000 per month. But there you actually have to be a really good player. Let's talk about sponsors. Astralis, Counter-Strike team, cut a sponsorship deal with Audi for a total of $750,000. Which is something, and this is also something to just look out for, if you're noticing, and if we are noticing that big brands are going into esports, then it just has to say something, it has to just mean something as well. Like if Audi is going into fucking esports with, well, even though $750,000 might be a lot for the team, but it's probably not going to be that much for Audi themselves, it's going to be something, but it's not going to be that much, they're still making a lot of fucking revenue, of course, and also profit. The thing is, if Audi is doing that, then where are we right now? Like, it's insane, It just has to say something. The top 10 teams by prize money in 2019 are, the first team is Team Liquid with $30 million, and they also played a total amount of tournaments, which is 1,594, which is also something compared to the second place, which is Evil Geniuses with 21 million, which is still quite a lot, but they only played 791 tournaments, compared to Team OG with 70 million and 66 played tournaments, which is like quite nothing, even though it is relatively, well, it's actually the half. It's actually more than a half compared to Team Liquid. And then just in the recent times, there has also been a lot of venture capital investments into esports, but yeah. But in terms of revenue, which is now about esports versus traditional sports, in terms of revenue, esports still trail behind. The NFL and MLB, for example, each brought in over 10 billion in 2017. League of Legends, on the other hand, made 2.1 billion that same year and 1.4 billion throughout 2018. In the United States, 58% of the 14 to 21-year-olds have watched live or recorded themselves esports, even though like it is pretty tough to say, I guess, because if we're talking about esports, it's going to be like, well, 58% of 14 to 21-year-olds have been playing games or have been watching games or people playing games. So what is the definition of esports? This is what I'm lacking in at this point in time. It's like, what do you think about, when you're just talking about esports? Is it about like somebody that is actually professional, or if it is just about playing fucking games, maybe even ranked, maybe even just in a competitive arena? What is it? What is it? And then it's also quite it with the article. But as I've said, I've also having another article, and it is actually from the 23rd of August 2019. So there, and it is also going to be linked down in the description, these two articles that we went through. Besides the esports industry as a whole experienced double-digit growth over the last years and is expected to reach the $1 billion mark in revenues by 2019. Furthermore, according to Newzoo, brands will invest $1.4 billion in the esports industry by 2021, representing a total of 84% of esports revenues. I'm gonna just highlight that, which is insane, so insane, the amount of insanes that I've said today is just staggering, I guess. All these esports developments resulted in the fact that Olympic organizers are discussing the introduction of esports as a demonstration sport at the 2024 Paris Olympics. I would say so. Like, still there's going to be a lot of, I assume, also elderly people that are going to be like, well, esports are not really sports, it's just playing games. But fucking no, it is difficult, and no, not everybody's able to do that. And I've actually found or just seen a pretty great, more or less quote or just saying that Ninja was talking about, who is also, I think, an esports player. I'm actually not quite sure about that, but he was talking about esports. The thing with esports is that if you're watching esports, you're basically doing the exact same thing as watching traditional sports. What you're doing when you're watching traditional sports is watching somebody that is able to do something that you are not able to do. And if you think about this quote-unquote definition of this fact, then it is the exact same thing for esports as well. You're watching somebody that is doing something that you're not able to do. They're having great reaction time, really just low reaction time, then they're pretty good at the game, which is something that you're probably not, at least not in such a degree or at such a level as this particular person. Therefore, you're watching esports. It just really makes sense. It is nothing to kind of, I don't know, it really makes sense. Hence, esports is becoming more and more apparent even for audiences not involved in video gaming, and therefore extremely interesting from a marketing perspective. Of course, then there is a little bit of history, and as we can see, in 2018 they totaled 906 million, which is a 38.2% year-on-year growth. And as you can see in this pie chart, it's actually not that much of tickets and merchandise, which is only 11%, but sponsorships is 40% of the whole pie. Then media rights, which is 160 million, advertising 19%, game publishers 13%. But even though if we talk about merchandise and tickets, it is still 100 million. It is still a lot. But if you are combining the revenue that other sports genres, if you are willing to talk about that, but I'm not quite sure about that, the NFL, for example, they brought back, well, it is actually in pounds. So it's going to be like a tiny bit less in dollars. 9.7, it's actually, no, it's more in dollars. No, $9.79 billion. Or pounds, I'm sorry, which is quite something in dollars and also in euros. The baseball league brought back 6.99, and the Premier League, which is something that I didn't know that they're just doing so great, 6.97 billion, compared with esports, which is 487 million. In 2017, I guess, because there is 2017. Another indicator of the potential growth of the industry is observed through the total revenue per fan, which is $15 in the average revenue per fan for baseball worldwide, basketball worldwide, and $45 for all sports put together. But I don't know total esports revenues, 1 billion quite. So, okay, I see. Okay, yeah. Prize money. There's actually comparison of prize monies, and as we can see, like, it is close. If you're winning the Tour de France, you're actually getting 2 million, which is something that I didn't know. It's like quite something, But of course, if you're doping and whatnot, then never mind. But let's just have a look at the Dota 2, the International 2017 with 17.5 fucking million. It is really a lot. The Football Champions League with what? 965 million is it prize money? They're fucking kidding me. They're getting a fucking billion for fucking winning the Champions League. That's fucking nuts. That's insane. Like, just have a look at it. Horse racing with 19 million, which is also quite something. The Formula 1 with 500 million. Like, it's insane. It really is insane. The viewerships, it grew. The question we asked ourselves was, will esports eventually outgrow traditional sports? Well, the answer is yes. First of all, the audience is increasing constantly and will soon outgrow the largest traditional sporting events. Regarding prize money, esports is already competing with traditional sports, making it extremely attractive for both future gamers and potential spectators. However, regarding sponsorship revenues, esports is still far behind traditional sports, which is rather surprising when looking at the audience potential. Thus, there is still plenty of room for investors and brands to hop on the train and engage in this potentially huge market. And I think it's going to be a huge market. If you're just asking just after my opinion or for my opinion, I think it is going to grow and I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be quite huge. And the thing is, I think at this point in time it would actually be quite good to invest in it in terms of like sponsorships and whatnot, just because it's going to be not that pricey at this point in time. And it's going to be way fucking more expensive in the future, just because it's then just growing and it is then popular and it's then whatever. So yeah, it just makes sense to now put your money into it, I would say. But yeah, this is gonna be the end of the episode. I hope you've liked it. I hope you've just quote unquote learned something. And yeah, I wish you the best health, wealth, happiness, and also success. And I also hope that you're gonna remind yourself on who you're gonna be remembered, which basically means your legacy, which basically means just being a good person and then also going to be remembered as a good person. 3 other questions that I'm having for you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? These 3 are hopefully gonna show you your purpose, maybe even a business idea. And with that being said, I'll see you the next time. Bye.